Okay, so we are back with our series 2025 FRQ solving the problems for that year. This is going to actually be our final and last video. Very sad to kind of go, but hopefully you guys have been learning a lot. If you haven't seen the other videos on the other questions, make sure to check that out. But in this video, we're going to be going over question 4, part B. So with this one, we are going to actually be writing the clear pair method. This is going to take in two parameters. One is going to be a valid row index, emphasis on the word valid, and a valid column index as its parameter. The array element that is specified is going to have a value between 1 and 9 inclusive, because that is what we initialized our puzzle array with, or puzzle 2D array with. Array elements in puzzle in an attempt to pair it with another array and clear it, and it has to meet these conditions. So the first condition is that the row index of the second element must be greater than or equal to the parameter row, and the two elements have to have equal values, or their values have to sum up to the value of 10. If we do find an array element like this, then what we're going to do is set both of those values to 0, and then we're going to return true. If more than one element is found, then we can choose any of those to clear it. And if no element is found, then we're not going to make any changes, and we're simply going to return false. So this table here gives us an example of a few different scenarios that we can use to kind of verify what it is that we're going to be doing. Because reading this at first glance, it may seem a little confusing, but these examples are going to kind of help us clear up any kind of questions that we have. So this is going to be what our puzzle looks like here before we make the call to clear the pair. And then this is going to be what we're passing in. So this is going to say essentially row 0, column 1, right, which is going to correspond to row 0, column 1, which is going to correspond to 7. So we are going to be looking for something that will either be the value of 7 and or sum up to the value of 10. That is either going to be found in this row or any row below this. So if we do, based off of this explanation, this value 7, we have another matching 7 that is going to be here. We notice that this is in a row that is after this row, and it does meet the criteria that it is the same value. And we're going to clear both of those to 0, and this is what the puzzle looks like afterwards. This here is an example. We are going to be looking at row 2, column 2. So this row 0, row 1, row 2, column 0, column 1, column 2. So here at this element 1, and we are going to be looking for either in this row or a row below this, which there is no row below, that will either be the value of 1 or that will sum up to the value of 10, which we do not have another value of 1 and we do not have a value of 9. So we do not change it and we return false. Then we look at this example. So row 1, column 1. So we're here at the value of 4, and we're either looking for another value of 4 or a value of 6 that would be either in this row or the row below it. So we cannot check this row because this comes before it, so it doesn't meet the criteria. So we search and we see that we have the value 6, which would meet the criteria, but we also have the value of 4 here. And so what we go ahead and do here, we just use this one. So this is first, and we clear both of those and return true. So hopefully you're starting to see the pattern here. We'll look at this last one, and then we'll actually dive into writing it. 0, 1, 2. So we're looking at 9, and we're going to be looking for a value either in the same row or a row below it that is either the value of 9 or that sums up to be 10. Now, this one is going to be that weird case, which I'm glad they have this example, but we notice that this actually has the value of 1, which would add up to 10, and it is going to actually be in the same row as itself, but it just comes before it. So we're going to clear both of these, and we return true. So let's take a look at what this actual method looks like, and let's go ahead and code it up. Okay, so just like before, I like to kind of write up above, just going to be a guideline of what it is that I'm going to be doing. So we're going to be taking the element specified by row and column, and we're trying to clear it and return true based off of these conditions. So we look for an element on the same row or on a row that's greater than that row, and we're going to clear it if their sums are equal to 10 or if they are the same number. In that case, we then set them both to 0 and we return true. If we don't find it, we return false. So the very first thing that I'm going to do to make my life a little bit easier is I'm just going to grab this value. That way I don't have to keep typing a lot and reference puzzle row and column every single time. So the value that I'm going to be looking for, that current value, is going to be val 1. Now, the next thing that we need to do, we need to make sure that we can iterate through every single element in the puzzle. However, we want to make sure that we're only going to be starting at the current row. There's no reason to start at the row before because like the criteria says, we cannot check it. So what we're going to actually do in this case, we're going to start at the current row, right? As opposed to starting at index 0. This is going to make sure that we don't even check anything that comes before row, so we don't have to worry about failing that particular criteria where it says that we're going to be looking on the same row or greater. So that's guaranteed because we're going to be starting on the same row and only going to be going after that. So that's going to make our life a little bit easier. In this case, we're going to take the puzzle length. Because this is the 2D array, this is going to give us the length of the rows. And then our next one that we're going to take a look at when we do the columns here. So same thing for the columns. In this case, we're going to start at 0 because we want to check every column. In that last example, remember 1 was actually before it. So we need to make sure that we check all of the columns. But in this case, now we're going to be making sure that we reference a specific row and getting that length because it is a 2D array. And we can assume that the length in the column or the row in the columns are going to be the same. We can do this. We can also, if we wanted to, replace 0 with R just to make sure, just in case, right, every row was a little bit different, we could do that. So what we're going to do in this case, we are going to do that. But my assumption is that I don't think the AP exam would be that mean. And more than likely, you can kind of assume that all of them are at least the same length, right? Length and or rows and columns will at least be equal. So that way you could probably get away with just referencing 0. But I'll do R just in case, and that'll just cover all of our bases. Now, the very next thing that we need to do, this is one small case that you may have missed, but we want to make sure that we don't actually check the same element. Otherwise, every single thing will return true. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to say that if C is equal to column, right, and row is equal, the current R is equal to row, right, then this is going to be the case where we do not, or where we're actually going to be on the same element. And all I'm going to do is just negate it, right? Which means that if this does not hold true, right, then we are actually going to do our check. So this is going to basically return true for anything that is not the actual element that we're going to be checking. So for this one and this one only, it's going to skip it. All other ones we will be checking, and that's going to make sure that we don't return true for every single one because one of the criteria is that value. So we don't want to check its same value because that will always be the case, right? It'll be saying like val1 is equal to val1, and we don't want that to happen. Cool. So now once we have established that, we can grab our second value, and I'm going to save that in a variable, and that's going to be RC, so whatever the current one is. And from here, we can actually go through and check our criteria. So the first case is if val1 is equal to val2. If that's the case, then we have found a match and we need to clear it. Or in the other case is if val1 plus val2 happens to sum up to the value of 10. So if either of these cases are true, what we're going to do, we're going to clear, right, those are particular indices. So we're going to set this equal to 0. And then we're also going to set this equal to 0 as well. And then we're going to return true, right? That means that, hey, I have found a match, I cleared them both to 0, and I immediately return true. However, if I have searched every single element, every valid element, and I haven't found anything, I'm going to make no changes, and I am going to return false. And this will actually complete our clear pair method. Like I said, the biggest thing, and that you may have kind of, I would say, tripped up a lot of you, is this portion here, making sure that we do not check the exact same element. Without this, every single thing would return true because val1 would at some point always be equal to val2. So we just want to make sure that we have this. But let me know down in the comments on this question. So we have gone over all 4 questions for the 2025 APCSA FRQ. If you have gotten any wrong or you need a little bit of clarification, just let me know down in the comments. Let me know how you did. If you may have missed a few. Hopefully my students have done well. Looking forward to those results coming out, and I will kind of be in touch with you guys. But if you have any questions, like I said,